Hi, everyone. Welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host, Louisa, and this is a special interview today. We have joining us, well, it's another message from Saint Germaine by our friend and a returning friend and guest to the GoldFish Report, Dr. Scott Werner. So welcome back to the GoldFish Report, Scott.
I want to thank you, and Saint Germaine thanks you, because we need to get encouraging people today.
Good. We all need encouragement. This is a message of hope, encouragement, and to basically hold on, because there's a lot of dark being pushed out and a lot of people freaking out and a lot of strange things happening, a lot of people being anxious. And of course, joining us and to be here with us is our Country Roads co-host, Winston Strout. Winston, thanks so much for being with us today, too.
Well, how y'all doing this morning?
Just love our friends.
we all doing good.
That's mighty fine.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
You know what I heard this morning, Winston? Thank God I'm a country boy. I know you know the words to that song. Yeah.
Well, I know the tune pretty good. I can do ham bone to that, so, you know.
Hey, the viewers are still waiting for that ham bone, Winston, and they're not going to let you forget about it either.
They got to put an application in, or it's just not going to happen.
Sended order, the Ancient Order of Ascended Hillbillies, folks. That's where you got to submit your application to sic.com.
That's it.
Okay, folks. So let's hear what you got, Scott. We know that Saint Germaine is always so timely. Like, he knows what's going on. The messages are always so timely. I think that's what people so love to hear. They just are so positive and always at the right time. So we're curious to hear what he has to say.
And thank you for the platform, because, we got to get this message out. And currently, the world has been real fascinating lately, and things are happening. This being the first day of spring, the first day of the new year in the Far East, it's a wonderful new start. Now, over the years, I've been able to meet so many fascinating people, especially lately, people who are following and having conversations with Saint Germaine. And one of these guys, his name is Anthony Sanchez, and he's in Taos, New Mexico. Now, my wife keeps getting after me, say Taos, say Taos. So I've been working on saying Taos without, offending the people of Taos. And because it's an amazing portal there. And Anthony Sanchez moved there years ago, and he has been receiving messages from Saint Germaine. And he says that this day is the start of the release of many of the prophesied things that are going to happen, because this is the New Year day of 2018, and 2018 is the year of change. Changes are not only happening, but they are, being revealed right and left. Anthony even said Saint Germaine told him the RV is going to happen in the next couple of months. And so, that wasn't a message I got, but, getting it from him was quite cool. He told me that when he first started talking to me, he was kind of checking me out, making sure I really was in communication with Saint Germaine. And so, he said, well, what did he look like? What was he wearing, And it was really fascinating, because I said, well, he was wearing a white tunic underneath a violet robe. And he said to me, he goes, did he give you a robe? And I was like, no, he didn't give me a robe. And he said, well, he gave me a robe. And I'm sitting here going, well, Saint Germaine, why didn't you give me a robe? And so anyway, we were down in Las Vegas, and I woke up Saturday morning, just this past Saturday, and I was told, go to Dillard's, and Saint Germaine's got a gift for you there. And we drive over to Henderson. They're in near Las Vegas, and we go to Dillard's, and there is a violet jacket, not a robe, but basically a jacket that you wear with shirt and tie. And I showed it to Vicki, and she looked at it and says, "Scott, that's too much money. You don't need to buy that." And it was the only one, and it was my exact size. And so we decided we were going to wait on it. But, talking this morning with Dan, maybe I need to call them up and see if they'll send it to me and give me a discount.
Yeah, Dan
but
seems to think
we're always led to whatever we're desiring. And truthfully, I don't know that I'd get out on stage wearing a purple robe. Well, of course, if it was from Saint Germaine, definitely I would. But, this jacket was amazing. It did look like I'd be there with the fairies and everything else wearing it. But, that's okay with me. But my wife was a little embarrassed about me, wearing a violet jacket. So we didn't buy it at the time, but I'm still kicking myself for not doing it. But the reason I'm telling this story is when we're putting out there what we desire, it's going to come, and it's going to come fast. And our ability to manifest is getting very powerful. And the main message from Saint Germaine that he wants me to give all of you is we need to have hope, and we need to have faith. Now, faith is a very powerful thing. Faith vibrates in the vibration of the golden white light of God. Now, what does that mean? When we express faith or believing, just the belief in God and in the powers of God, we start streaming that golden white light from our cerebral chakra and making connections to the creator of the universe. Now, the other word, hope. Hope vibrates in golden energy. Golden energy is very valuable. Golden energy gives you not only hope, but it gives you abundance and prosperity. So the main message was hope, believe it or not, but I'm adding in faith, because when you have hope and faith together, you're making that connection through the golden white light, and through your hope. Wow, that's interesting. Through the hope, you develop that golden energy of the creator, and it starts bringing the abundance of the universe to you. So you're not only creating that connection with God, but you're connecting with the prosperity and abundance of the universe. And the universe has total abundance. It has everything we could desire or need or want. And we need to stay out of want, because want is a lack. And so when we state things, I desire a robe from Saint Germaine. Now, I hope next time I get on with you, I'll have that robe from Saint Germaine. Now, why do I want that violet robe from Saint Germaine? Mainly because I want to represent with that robe the divine violet energy that transmutes everything that we've created that maybe isn't necessarily good. It transmutes it into perfection and changes our entire auric field. It changes everything within us. Now, a lot of people ask me, how come I can't do what Jesus did? How come I can't, turn water into wine or heal people or dispose of bad entities? And I tell them, you can. You just have to have more faith and belief and hope, because, we're able to do these things. And when two or more of you are gathered together, you can create everything that Jesus created. And, you know, a lot of people go, blasphemy, blasphemy, but Jesus actually told us that. And so it's not blasphemy to follow the words of Jesus. What it is it's expressing our faith in following those words. And let me tell you, I have experienced so many beautiful things from following the words of Jesus and from expressing the abundance. You know, the 24-strand DNA manifestation has been absolutely fabulous. I've had so many people doing it now, and they've been led to make the manifestation, and they experience wonderful energetic alterations in their field, in their DNA, in their minds, in their expression of faith and hope. Their ability to create becomes much faster. And so I admonish everybody to do this. Oh, the other thing Saint Germaine really wants me to tell you is he's having me go out and teach people these things. And the 13th and the 14th of April, I'm going to be in Avon, Colorado, which is near Vail, Colorado, which is a big, magnificent ski resort there in the mountains, Rocky Mountains, it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours out of Denver, depending on the snow conditions. And we're going to be there the evening of the 13th from 7 till 9 p.m. And Vail Valley Natural Healing Center invited me to be there. And they're at 100 Beaver Creek Boulevard there in Avon, Colorado. We're actually looking for a bigger place because we're expecting a pretty big crowd to be there. And Saint Germaine wants me to talk about the 24-strand DNA and what people are experiencing with that. And then the next day, we're going to talk more about that and more about other things that Saint Germaine is bringing forth. And so it's going to be a very good lecture series, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm supposed to give blessings to everyone who comes. And these blessings are from the great divine director and the creator of the universe. Now, who am I to be doing this? Well, the great divine director, when I was down in Medellin, Colombia, South America, the first night I slept at Father Gabriel's compound there in Medellin, the great divine director came to me. And for those of you who don't know who the great divine director is, he is the emissary of the creator. And he brings the messages to all of the ascended masters, all of the seven Elohim, all of the archangels and angels and the elementals. He directs where God, the creator, wants us all to be and go. Well, he took me out into the universe and he showed me the vastness of the universe. And let me tell you, the universe, it's an omniverse. It never ends. And the creations continue to be created by the creator. And so the vastness was beyond conception for me. And when I looked out there, he said to me, Scott, you are to start blessing all the humans who are on the earth and off planet. And I was like, whoa, what does that mean? You know? And then he took me and he went even further out and he showed me these colonies. You know, we've got human beings out in the outskirts of the universe, and it's more vast than we even can contemplate, at least for me. Go ahead.
Scott, let me just ask you, I want to put the address in the description section of the video. This is 100 Beaver Creek Boulevard, and that's Avon. Is it Avon? Is that how you spell it?
ABON, Colorado,
Colorado. Okay.
81620. And
Okay. We'll put that in there for folks so they don't have to worry about rewinding the video. I'll put
Yeah,
yeah,
that in there for you.
why don't you write, Scott? Why don't you write that on a piece of paper and hold it up so that people can copy it down? That'd be easier.
I don't know if
There
you
you
can
go.
see that or not. Can
Get
you
a little
see that?
closer.
Yeah. I'll put it in the description section too.
Yes, that's
Bell
it.
Valley Natural Healing Center. Yeah, I could see that. Very good.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Of
And
course, with
so,
Scott's handwriting as a doctor, it's pretty hard to read.
That's
I
why we got,
apologize.
yeah.
You know, that's everybody when I was a kid and I was trying to write stuff, they're like, well, number one, I was born left-handed. And they smacked your hand with a ruler every time you tried to use your dominant hand, you know? And so I could write pretty well with my left hand, but then they smacked it so dang hard, I decided I better use my right. And my right, I can't write at all. So I blame my kindergarten and first grade teachers for bad handwriting. But
That's funny. That's funny.
one of the things they told me when I was a kid is they said, man, you better become a doctor because nobody can read.
That's good. You know, I had one other question to ask because for viewers who don't understand, and there's not many who don't, but apparently from previous comments, there's a few people who don't understand that you're not an official spokesperson or representative for Saint Germaine. And I just wanted to make sure people understood your relationship to Saint Germaine and how it is you bring forth these messages, because there was someone who didn't understand that this is, you know, how you do this. So maybe you want to explain that, Scott.
Well, you know, I didn't pick Saint Germaine, although in a way I did. The first experience I had with Saint Germaine was back in 1996. I was a medical doctor. I was working with herbs. I had, you know, just a few herbs I was working with, and I found they worked so good. Well, in fact, I cured my own cancer with the herbs. And so, you know, I've always been very prayerful and contemplative and meditative. A lot of people say I'm in a constant state of meditation. And, you know, even when the TMers check my meditation, they say, well, we don't know what you're doing, but you're in constant meditation. So I'm in this state of contact with the higher energies of the universe. And I got on my knees and I was praying because I wanted to learn more about herbs and the different modalities, because I had been working with them, but I wanted more information. And so I got on my knees and I said, please send me the best herbalist on the planet. Now, the next day, I had this guy call me up and he said, Scott, the Spirit told me to call you, and I'm supposed to come down there and teach you about herbs. And he gave his name as Stephen Hennenfin. Now, it was really interesting. He said, if you'll open up an herb store, I'll come down and teach you about the herbs. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. You come down and we'll set it up. So I basically just had a Medicare equipment company was actually in a part of my building that I owned right off my waiting room. And they had gone out of business because Medicare had changed their rules and put a bunch of them out of business. And this just happened to go out of business and it was empty. So I thought, well, I'll put the herb store in here. And Steve drove down from Ogden, Utah. He was actually a rep for Systemic Formulas, which produces some of the best products I've ever used as far as herbs. In fact, I was praying for a better antifungal, and a lady, a massage therapist, brought me the number 4, which is the best antifungal I've ever used. And he was working for and with this company. And when Steve came down, he looked at everything and he said, Scott, I'm supposed to teach you kinesiology. I'm supposed to teach you about homeopathics, crystals, and he went through all of this energetic medicine that I really hadn't had time to delve into. I'd had time to heal my own cancer, and I started using parasite cleansing, antifungals, antivirals, different things to get rid of chronic illness, but I wanted to know more. And the first thing he did was teach me kinesiology. Now, kinesiology is kind of an interesting thing, and he even knew about David Hawkins, who is a MD, PhD psychiatrist, who was very much against kinesiology because his patients had come in with their Prozac and they'd pound it on the table and said, this didn't test good for me. And he'd look at him and he's like, who's testing that for you? And oh, my chiropractor tested it. It's not good for me. Or my naturopath tested it. It's not good for me. And it made David Hawkins very angry because he was like, oh, these are a bunch of people who don't know what they're talking about. They're not even medical doctors, or they haven't done, studies and everything. So he decided that he was going to test kinesiology and make it so, it would be woo-woo, the stuff that we do. And anyway, so he started testing it and actually did scientific testing. And he found that it actually worked. And he wrote a book called Power versus Force. And in that book, he describes all of the testing he did. I mean, it's a PhD thesis, this book. For the faint of heart, it's not a book that most people can understand very well because it's very, very deep science. But he found it worked. In fact, he started testing everything with kinesiology. And Saint Germaine had me get this book and read it. And I read it and I was very impressed. And so I started doing kinesiology with Steve Henenfent. And then we started, with the crystals. And we actually would set the crystals according to the chakras around a person. We'd lay them on a massage table and we'd put these crystals around it. We called it cooking because the person would get very hot. In fact, I would take their temperature with my thermometer. I had one of these thermometers like the pediatricians put in the ear, and it would tell the temperature instantly. And their temperature would go up with these crystals around them because they were focusing energy into their bodies, and we were putting these crystals around particular vortexes and areas around the body. And we had one of the first girls we did this to. She was 21 years old, had severe lupus, systemic lupus erythematosus, they called it, SLE. SLE. And she was dying. Her kidneys were shutting down and, extreme fatigue. And we did this crystal layout and cooked her. And she got up from that and she was cured. It got rid of every virus out of her body that was causing lupus. It got rid of all the parasites, everything. And I was like, whoa, this is way cool. And so we kept doing these different modalities. But anyway, the reason I have a relationship with Saint Germaine, and I call it a relationship because I literally spent 4 years with this guy. And when he left, I bought a book called Saint Germaine and Alchemy, which was made by Mark and Claire Prophet, wrote this book. And in that book, they had a picture of Saint Germaine. And I looked at that picture and I'm like, oh my God, this is Steve. And I called him up and I asked him, I said, are you Saint Germaine? And you know what he did? he started telling me these stories about King Arthur and Merlin, and that he was Merlin, and that they were performing all kind of magic and doing fun things, and they used crystals and developed the homeopathics even before, and so I was like, holy cow, I've been dealing with Saint Germaine for the last 4 years, and I didn't even know it. And truthfully, I didn't know who Saint Germaine really was at the time. And so,
That's interesting.
I've had many spiritual experiences with Saint Germaine. So I'm not saying he's my mentor. Well, actually, he is. He's my mentor. But, I've had experiences with Jesus, too. I've had 4 actual materializations where Jesus has come to me and let me touch him and touch his body. And then he took me places. And so I'm one of these weird humans who have had interactions with the divine. And all of us can have these. The reason I believe I've had these is I get on my knees and I pray for these experiences. Just before Saint Germaine appeared to me for the next step in human evolution, I was praying about, all the toxins and chemicals and radiation and nanobots that we humans are being exposed to. And I was praying for an answer. What do we do about all this? Because, all of us are getting sick and we're getting chronic illnesses. We're dying. It's interesting. Cancer has become the #1 cause of death instead of heart disease. And the reason why is all these frickin' chemicals in our atmosphere. And the 3rd cause of death now is respiratory. Yeah. And believe it or not, it's because we're breathing these chemicals into our lungs every day, and it's causing cancers. I had a lady come in yesterday who has cancer of her lungs, never smoked, never did anything bad. She's a good Mormon. She followed the word of wisdom, which is something Joseph Smith received to keep people healthy. And people, who don't smoke and live a good life, they don't do any chemical things, they're ending up getting cancer of the lungs and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And the reason why is we've got all these blasted things in the atmosphere, through chemtrails, through petroleum products, through gasoline, through diesel. All of these things are getting into our air, and they're causing people to get chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and cancers. Go ahead.
Let me go back for a minute because I want to ask Winston to weigh in on something here, but I've got to go back because, well, I'll be honest, there's going to be somebody who hears something that you had said and say, uh-oh. Okay, you don't really cook people. This isn't, Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd where people get in the big pot of boiling water. It's not that kind of thing, folks. There's no spirit cooking here. This is not what Scott is talking about. So don't go getting crazy and making comments for those who might have the propensity to do something like that. That's not what he's talking about. I needed to clarify that, okay? Because he's using it as an analogy. It's a figure of speech because the person's body heated up to a certain point and it destroyed some of. This is a fascinating process, to be honest, because I know that viruses and all kinds of things all vibrate at a certain frequency. We know that some of them are man-made. Probably almost all of them probably are.
Oh, they all are.
Right. I mean, from AIDS to herpes, I don't know, to, obviously some cancers are most, many are fungus and things like that and parasite, it's just crazy that we're all still alive. Actually, we're pretty resilient. But, this whole concept, and a lot of people are hurting right now. I mean, people are really struggling. I have a respiratory issue, and what's funny was I had to go on prednisone for a couple of months, and of course you get a little puffy from that. You look like you gain weight, but you I guess you retain water. And somebody made a comment in one of the videos that I was fat and getting fatter, and had absolutely no clue whatsoever as to what maybe, could be behind that. And yes, the prednisone does puff you up, and there's nothing you can really do about it, but wait over time for that to normalize. But Winston, I wanted you to weigh in on what Scott's talking about, because everybody's had, even you have a relationship of some kind with Saint Germaine, and a lot of people do. It's not uncommon to hear that some people are very connected to the Ascended Masters, and so and this is a really important message right now, because there is so much change going on, and we have to have faith and we have to have hope. And I just wanted to know if you wanted to weigh in and comment up to this point.
Yeah. Well, first, let me comment about the things that people perceive, and that is, when people who are not experienced or trained in some of these areas, when they hear these things, they translate them into what their experience has been. And so, hopefully people will become well-rounded enough that when they hear some things that might cause a red flag or something to go up in their perception, just let me recommend that you expand your perception a little bit, because narrow-minded people are not going to get the full benefit of what's being presented here. And so my first recommendation to people, again, like I've said in the past, if you hear something that causes a little bit of cognitive dissonance, okay, don't reject it out of hand. Put it on the shelf, come back to it, and finally you'll be able to fit it in if you are progressing, in knowledge and truth and all these kinds of things. So again, for those that, hear things that sound just a little bit strange or are expressed in a different manner than what they're used to hearing, then just put it on the shelf, go back to it, until you can finally fit it into, your logic and your reasoning. So that'd be my recommendation on that. Now, I also want to make a few comments about the first subject that Scott had brought up about faith. This is ever so important a concept. And going back, in some of our more recent country roads and stuff, where we've gone over some of the spiritual elements and so forth, from time to time, I keep bringing up this Joseph Smith character. Now, when he first organized and gathered people around him, he developed something that he called the School of the Prophets. And the subject matter that he first went into was faith. And there is a book that you can obtain, from those teachings. It's called Lectures on Faith. Lectures on Faith. I suppose you can get it, most anywhere on the internet or something like that. But it's ever so important a concept that was the first thing that he wanted those who had gathered around him to understand. Now, this concept that faith has the golden white light energy attached, that's absolutely correct. And if you listen to some of the comments that James Gilliland had made about one of his near-death experiences, where he went all the way back to source. Source is the source of the golden white light energy that permeates the universe, and it is a plane of bliss. It is a plane of bliss. And so that's where that comes from. Now, I also wanted to comment on violet robes and those kind of things. Actually, I'm a blue light entity, so I have no problem with robes and stuff because I wear blue jeans. So anyway, yes, I wanted people to take heart, and like I, when I was a young person, when things would get tough or we got threatened with this or that or the other, our common phrase is, well, what are you going to do? Shave my head and send me to Vietnam? I mean, is that the best you can do? And so I think people need to take heart, when you get down in the dumps or, just have a good laugh, listen to some funny stories or enjoy yourself a little bit. It'll pass. It will pass away from you. So laughter is the best medicine. When I'm down in the dumps, there's an organization out of Canada called Just for Laughs, and they do all these practical jokes and stuff. So if I'm ever feeling down in the dumps, I just go on the internet and watch Just for Laughs, and it don't take very long, till I'm feeling pretty good. So I'm encouraging people. If you're feeling blue, if you're feeling down in the dumps and all that kind of stuff, just have a real good laugh, and I think you'll come out of it pretty quick.
Thanks a lot, Winston. Well, it's very true. I mean, laughter is, as they say, Scott, right? The best medicine. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
And it's amazing because it's a very high vibration, especially that gut laughter, when you're like, when your gut hurts, when you're laughing so hard, your gut hurts. And it is so very healing, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And listening to good, positive speeches is very important. Things that carry a vibration that's higher. And the higher the vibration, believe it or not, the higher you can go. Because whatever somebody's speaking to you, you need to make sure it's good, positive stuff. We listen to too much crap. And we just, the TV's loaded with very low vibrating things. It's about murders and the police shows and just all of this low vibration. And literally the best advice I ever received was turn off your TV.
Yeah, forget about that high cable bill.
Well, because it vibrates very low. It vibrates in fear and in death and in blame, shame, guilt, sorrow, all these just low vibrations. And we need to put our goal to be in higher vibrations, in joy, in bliss, in happiness, compassion, the higher vibrations. And that's one of the things I've been blessed with is I was given a blessing when I was just a little kid, and I was a baby, basically. I don't remember getting the blessing, but I was dying of pneumonia. And my grandfather, Rulon Nichols, gave me a blessing, and he said, not only will you live, but you will live to bless and use your voice to heal others. And then later on, I was given a blessing by J.J. Dewey up in a mountaintop near Boise, Idaho, that out of my mouth would come the sounds of God for the healing of humanity. And let me tell you, I started doing toning, and toning is an inflection of sound that comes out, and it actually will raise your vibration to the point where illness cannot exist in a higher vibration. And when we talk about cooking people, we raise their vibration to the point where their body temperature comes up. And a fever is actually good. A lot of people, their little kids get a fever and they freak out and they call their doctor up. Oh, my kid's got a fever. Well, give them some aspirin, give them some Tylenol, things to bring the fever down. And the thing people don't realize is that fever is helping the body fight the infection. And so, when I talk about cooking, we're not actually boiling the people in pots or anything, but the crystals do bring in energy. And they're marvelous. Now, one of the things Saint Germaine's telling me while we're talking about crystals, there is a crystalline energy of our planet. And our planet is purifying itself through crystalline energy. Our planet has had illness from all of the toxic stuff we humans have created. And so our Earth is actually purging out a lot of that stuff. And believe it or not, right now we're going through one of the coldest springs that I've ever experienced. You know, here in St. George, the temperature is usually in the 80s in March. And we've been down in the 50s, and it's been cold for St. George, you know, and the people up north are experiencing even worse stuff. But after the fever comes the coolness and the wetness. You know, you sweat after you've had that fever. Well, our planet Earth is experiencing that right now, and we're going through that coolness after the fever, believe it or not. So Saint Germaine wanted me to just make that statement. Go ahead.
That's important. Winston, I wanted you think you were commenting on something there. Did you want to
yeah, actually, there's two things. First, I want to comment on the crystalline situation that Scott was referring to, because, yeah, the Earth is purging, and we opened that up a week ago Monday. There's certain operations that we did, and which I'm not ready to go public with what we did yet. Sometime I'll tell the story. But as a result of the efforts that were made a week ago Monday, one of the participants, had told me that in meditation, he could see the power poles, what do you call them, the microwave towers. He said he could see crystalline energy coming up out of the earth and enveloping all of those towers, all those microwave towers, all those cell towers. He also saw the crystalline energy coming up and enveloping the buildings and the government buildings as well.
Whoa.
So this crystalline energy that, was released as a result of the operations we did a week ago Monday is having a huge impact on the whole planet, as the planet uses the crystalline energy to purge itself and to purge things on the surface here, so that we will be able to move into a new dynamic. Now, I want to go back also and comment what Scott was talking about with the 24 strand business as an example. As an example of what happened to me. Scott had given me that meditation, or that 24 strand affirmation I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago or something like that. And that's why I started talking about it on this program, as a matter of fact. And so when he gave that to me, I thought, well, this is something, I got to try out. So I just dove right into it and was, working at it hard every day. And I think I had gotten to somewhere around a repetition of somewhere around 70 or 80 times. And then I had the opportunity to take a trip. And as I was going through the airport, through those scanners, I set the scanners off. Now, this is before I had my hip replacement, so there wasn't any metal on me. Anyway, the guy said, well, he said, I'm going to have to, scan you. He had one of the little wands, he wanted to go over with. I said, well, go ahead. Anyway, as he was doing that, I turned around and looked at his computer screen. And all up and down my body, there were these huge gold blotches all over me. And now when I go through the airport, I set it off every time. And, if I turn around and look at their screen, I see those, because it's showing up on their screen as gold. And so what Scott has talked about, the effect of this 24 strand, the effect it has on people and all those kind of things, I can tell you firsthand, that's exactly true. If you don't believe it, try it.
Oh, that's very good. Well,
Thank you.
That's an interesting story, Winston, and that's proof that this is that the manifestation works. And
yeah.
I don't like those airport screeners, and I have to go through that pat down instead, because It's such a waste of time, but I won't get into that today. But anyway, you're right. And there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of the, you're saying it's colder than usual, right? That there's been, I think across the country, it's been colder than usual everywhere. And the Northeast here is set for its fourth nor'easter in this month of March. Now, come on, turn HARP off, give us a break. Enough is enough over here. But as Winston's saying, looks like as a result of this operation from a week ago, which tomorrow would make 10 days, wouldn't it? That would be some significant changes that are happening right now.
Yeah, there's quite a few changes happen. At some point, I think I'll tell that story, not today, but what we did triggered. It was a huge trigger for other things. In essence, what we did, we set up a vacuum cleaner and started sucking some of this negativity off the planet. And as a result of removal of that negativity and so forth, then the crystalline energy could come up. And like my friend said, as he was in meditation, said he could just see the crystalline energy just going up the power poles and going up the towers and up to the buildings and all this kind of stuff. So if it's happening to those things, it's happening to you as well. Now, when this crystalline energy starts pushing up through you, it is attempting to drive out the negativity, that either spiritual or physical. So expect it. And, if you have a little bit of discomfort or you say, hey, I'm going crazy or whatever, just know that the negativity is being pushed physically out of you. Wow. So get ready for it, folks. It's happening even as we speak.
Okay, so what do you think people should do? I don't know if Saint Germaine or Winston, do you have recommendations? Like, what do people do if they realize they even had this negative energy in them and they didn't know, and that's what's being pushed out? How can we help people and guide people?
Peace, be still. Is that right, Scott? I'll let Scott comment on that.
I've been being told to tell people to meditate. And all meditation is, a lot of people are so used to prayer, actively asking God and thanking God, but we don't relax and just listen to God. And meditation, a lot of people, Christians, they go, oh, meditators, that's people doing Buddhist and all this stuff. No, Jesus would go out into the wilderness and he would listen to God. He would commune with God and he would pause everything he was thinking in his mind. And he would just listen to the Creator, listen to the Father, listen to the earth, and commune. By commune, I mean integrate his energies with the Creator, with the earth, with the divine feminine, with the divine male energy. And he would listen through meditation, calming the mind down so that you're not, in chaos. Because literally our minds get so active, we get into chaos. And the Creator is the calm, the peace, the plenty, the abundance of the universe. And so connecting through meditation, and, meditation's, a lot of people don't like that word because they have a visual of something that isn't what they want. But believe me, quieting your mind and connecting to the Creator, connecting to the earth, connecting to the universe is a very powerful thing for healing the body. Because as you're in that meditation, that quietness, that stillness, you're going to receive answers. You're going to receive energy. The earth can heal you. The Creator can heal you. Jesus can come and heal you as you quiet your mind, quiet your soul. And so a big message right now is to get out into nature and just be still. Enjoy the energy of the stillness.
It's very true, Scott. I have to tell you. I mean, I did have a personal experience where I did have a session with one of my favorite gurus, Richard Presser. He doesn't call himself a guru, but he's a wonderfully talented, gifted man, spiritual man. And he did a healing. It was a past life karmic clearing. So he was trying to clear some karmic energy that I brought into this life with me, and from a past life. And I was holding it in an area that was injured. I had this reconstructive surgery on my ankle, and it was so painful during. Now, it wasn't painful when it started, but it became very painful during this process. And we were at the point where he was calling in the Ascended Masters to do some work. And I almost had to stop because it was so painful. I couldn't focus on what was going on anymore. And they knew it, though. They knew it. I didn't even have to say anything. And the next thing you know, not kidding you, the next thing, and I'm so skeptical myself sometimes, but that's the Joyzy in me. And it's, I wouldn't have believed it if it really didn't happen to me. I don't think I would have believed it as much or in this way. Let me tell you, the next thing you know, I had a cool sensation enveloping my ankle, and I had no more pain, and I never had pain like that again. And they were there healing me. I kid you not. So they will come. And if you have someone who knows how to guide you and bring them in, and it was amazing. And it was just amazing. It was this cool, all I felt was this cool. It wasn't cold or freezing, and it wasn't hot or warm. It was cool. And I don't know why it was cool, what the coolness represented. But maybe they were all there, but all the Ascended Masters were there. Jesus was there. I think Saint Germaine was there. I mean, there were several other ones. And there's no question. I know that they healed my ankle. I couldn't even, like I said, it's my own personal experience. And I can't explain it, but I can tell you that it was very real and it very much happened. So you're absolutely right. It was amazing experience. Very amazing.
And we're going to have more and more of these. Everybody on the planet is going to experience these healings. That's another thing that Saint Germaine has wanted me to tell people, is not only to have hope and faith, but it's going to create an energy where the entire human race is going to be able to raise their vibration. We've been vibrating in fear, which vibrates at 100 on David Hawkins' scale, the map of consciousness. 100 is not good. Fear is a very bad thing, and that's the vibration of parasites. That's why all of us have parasites. But anyway, as the earth raises her vibration and comes out of all of the human discord, we call it, the chaos, the whole planet is going to raise its vibration. We're going to have more spontaneous healing. We're going to have spontaneous ability to create and receive all things that we desire. So, but as we raise our vibration, and by doing the 24-strand DNA thing, it actually raises your vibration to a higher resonance. So you're even faster at creating. So, even if you don't do it for any other reason, do it because it helps you be a more powerful creator and human being. And it actually gets rid of personality defects, I call them. If you've had trouble your whole life with smoking or drinking alcohol or whatever, it actually raises you high enough you don't want to do that anymore. And it's quite fascinating. I've had people who have never been able to quit smoking do the 24-strand DNA manifestation, and they've just spontaneously quit because they just didn't have that addictive nature. And addiction is a low vibrating problem with human beings. They like us to be addicted to stuff because it lowers our vibration and our abilities. And what's happening is the earth is expanding and we are expanding, and we're all going to go through what they call the ascension. And a lot of people go, what is the ascension? Well, the ascension is actually where we're going to move at a high enough vibration that we're going to move into the consciousness of divine love. And through that, our bodies are going to evolve, and we won't have disease anymore because our bodies are going to be bodies of light and plasma. Now, the only orb here in our solar system that has plasma and light, believe it or not, is the sun. And our earth is going to evolve and become like the sun. And so are we. And we're going to be living in a fifth dimensional state that is of high vibration. We won't be sick anymore. We won't have wars or contentions. We're going to be such higher beings, we won't even think about those kind of things because we'll be beyond that. So just know we're going through a period, and it's scary for a lot of people because their fear's coming out because they've been in fear their whole life. And that's being removed. And so it comes into your consciousness out of your subconscious, and you're more aware. So just know we're going to come into more awareness. Everybody who isn't woke up is going to be woken up. And so the entire population is going to start evolving.
Can't wait for that day to come.
We're all going through this together.
Yeah, Winston.
What's that?
I said I can't wait for that day to come. Waking everybody's going to be awake.
Well,
oh man,
it's coming soon, and I hate the word soon.
I know, it's so ambiguous.
We're not, timeline wise, we're not far away.
Okay.
But there's this spring, this day is the beginning of the purging of all of our anxieties, fears, shame, blame, guilt. We're actually purging these out of our systems. And when Winston talks about the crystalline energy coming up, we've got a device. They call them, what's the name of them? They look like they're cell towers, but they call them death towers.
The Gwen towers? Because
they're putting out so damn much microwave energy.
The Gwen towers.
I can't even hear my my satellite radio when I pass this thing because it literally distorts everything. But it's interesting since Winston was talking about the crystalline energy coming up and enveloping these things. I visualized it coming up and enveloping this, and now it doesn't distort the satellite radio anymore, which is pretty cool. I think that, these things are happening, and we as humans, we can assist the earth in purging these things and in making things more positive. I fly so much. I was worried about all the radiation from all their detectors and crap. Well, since I've done my 24-strand DNA, I don't worry about it anymore because my body is beyond that. I walk through. I have to be searched every dang time I go through the airport too. I must be on the list saying, "Oh, he lights up the thing every time," because mine is interesting. Mine lights up kind of a violet gold. I know that sounds weird, but it's kind of a violet gold. And last time I had Carillion photography done to me, my auric field has taken on this violet energy. And I know that Saint Germaine is with me because he gives that violet energy to people.
There's your robe, Scott.
Yeah, it's probably my violet robe.
Oh, Winston, great observation.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
There you go.
I was thinking something physical like what Anthony Sanchez got, but
Very interesting, Winston. Very
So
interesting.
thank
I
you,
know
Winston. You pointed that out.
that was
Just
cool, wasn't it?
stating the obvious.
Yeah. Oh, right. That's
Well,
true.
you know,
Winston.
I'm just grateful. I can't tell you the gratitude I have in my heart for the Ascended Masters, for the Earth, for the Creator, for all of the divine directors, energy, and we are going to be giving blessings to everybody that we go to. The other place I'm going to here next month, we're going to be going to Taos, New Mexico, the 20th and 21st, and I didn't think my wife was going to go with me because her birthday's on the 22nd. She's an Earth girl because she was born on Earth Day. But anyway, she has wanted to go to Taos, New Mexico her whole life. She's just had that innate desire. And so she said, yes, let's both go, So we're both going to Taos. We're speaking at Somos Taos, which is a big place where they've got a lot of writers there in Taos. And they present their books and do readings from their books. And we're going to present The Next Step in Human Evolution and also Take Back Your Health, which is another book that I wrote with the kahunas. It was really interesting because as I was talking with Tony Sanchez, who lives in Taos, New Mexico, he was saying how he had received instructions from the kahunas. And when he heard I had been instructed by the kahunas to write this book, he was very happy that had happened because the kahunas are very powerful healers and powerful beings that bring joy and happiness. Because if you think about it, the Elohim, who are a part of Hawaii, is peace and aloha. That's the names of the two kahuna, the Elohim that are there in Hawaii. That's why people love Hawaii so much. They feel that energy of peace and aloha. Aloha is that welcoming energy. And so you're welcome and have peace. And go ahead.
I want to also get the information for that to put in the description section of the video as well for your Taos, New Mexico presentation. But I also wanted to tell our viewers I wanted to say happy birthday, Scott.
Happy birthday tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Okay, well, happy birthday tomorrow. And I know our viewers out there who love you will also wish you happy birthday too. And please send prayers for safety for Scott as well. Hold him in your prayers and make sure he has a safe trip. Both places.
Oh, I'm protected. I'm not worried about it at all.
Okay, our viewers are good. Our viewers love us. They love everybody who brings these messages forth, and they do appreciate us and do send us good well wishes, and I do appreciate that. And of course, we need that now because YouTube has done a very, very, very awful thing, and they just, after 3 years of very, very hard work, they destroyed it. They destroyed the hard work.
But Louisa,
and so temporarily,
that was, we could not do what we had done until they made the attack.
It was divine.
I understand.
Yeah, so don't begrudge that because your sacrifice is what enabled what we were able to do Monday a week ago. So don't begrudge that.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm calling it out for what it is. It is what it is. That's all. I'm not begrudging.
Adversity wakes us up.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that, we lost our 12,000 subscribers, but not forever.
You didn't lose a single one.
Well, they'll find us.
They're still there.
I know.
They'll find it and they'll subscribe.
Well, if you let me finish, I would have said that. Now you got to let me finish. Okay? So what I was saying was the silver lining behind all of this, okay? Although they did a terrible thing, there is a silver lining coming out from behind this. And absolutely, I know that we're going to be bigger and better than ever. And because of the wonderful messages and people that we have on GoldFish Report and the integrity that we represent. Go ahead, Winston.
Yeah, I was going to back up for a minute. I want to make a comment on what Scott had said about meditation.
Yes.
It kind of reminded me, I raised a lot of kids, trust me. And when they would all be going this way and that way and all that kind of stuff, well, my comment was, shut up and listen. Now, when we start to talk about meditation, when you consider meditating and all that kind of stuff, just remember what I'm saying here. Shut up and listen. And I think your meditations will be ever so much successful. Also, in connection with that, what I had revealed about the crystalline energy that's coming up out of the earth, the biggest problem we have with people is, so many people live in the cities and all that kind of stuff. The biggest block to receiving these energies is concrete. We're on concrete all the time. We're on the pavement. We're not connecting physically with the earth. And so if you want to experience more of this crystalline energy that's emanating from deep within the earth, take off your shoes and socks and go stand in the grass and meditate. Shut up and listen and let the crystalline energy envelop you. Give it a chance. I mean, get off the concrete, for crying out loud. Get off the pavement. Get off the rubber.
Okay.
Take your shoes and socks off if you have to, and just go stand out in the grass somewhere and have that experience. Now, I also want to comment, it was expressed by Paul in the New Testament where he talked about faith, hope, and charity. That's a key. Now, as has been mentioned, some of these various things like, faith, hope, and all these kind of things vibrate at a very, very high frequency. Now, what happens, like Paul was trying to indicate, when you combine faith, hope, charity, humility, and all these higher frequency attitudes, it's not one or the other, it's all of them. So faith, faith vibrates, let's say it's 700 hertz, hope, at 650, whatever. But so don't just do one of them. If you'll take all of those concepts, faith, hope, charity, humility, love, and all these kind of things, and combine them, it's not just 700 hertz, it's 1,000. It's 2,000 or 3,000 hertz that you're actually experiencing when you combine all of those frequencies. Am I not right, Scott?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
But Winston, I thought you were going to say that's why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we listen twice as much as we talk.
Yeah, shut up and listen.
Very good. Yeah, you can't hear the messages. The problem is people have to learn to turn their mind off and do the listening through their heart.
Go into the heart. That's it.
Yes.
All right, that's the key, folks. Not your head. Try to put it in a drawer while you're meditating, because it gets in the way sometimes. The chatter doesn't stop. You get distractions. You hear the garbage man outside. Then all the networks of associations that are related to the garbage man are activated. Like, did I get the garbage out in time? Did I get that garbage can? Did I empty that garbage can? Did it all come out? So just by sitting there meditating, and then suddenly you hear the sound of the garbage can, all these thoughts come in, because it's a network of associations that we have on everything. So that's so important to just try to shut it off, because it does interfere, right? We're right, Winston. It's really important. Really.
Shut up and listen.
Yes. Now, before we get off today, I'm being told by the great divine director to give a blessing to everyone who's within the reach of our voice, through the reach of your program, and it's going to spread out throughout the planet. Is that okay if we do that?
Absolutely.
You're ordered to do it.
Right.
Well, yes.
You can't get away from it, Scott. If they told you to do it, that's an order. Do it.
Well, when it comes from a being of that magnitude, you just do what you're told.
Winston's better trained. He's a Marine. He's better trained, you can tell.
Hoorah.
Okay.
Hoorah.
That's why we have our Marines with us. They keep us going. They keep us. Let's do it. That's wonderful.
Absolutely. Okay. Having been commissioned by the creator of the universe and commanded by the great divine director to give blessings to all the humans on and off of planet Earth. We call forth all the 7 Elohim and their 7 flames. We call forth all of the ascended masters, the archangels, the angels, and the elementals, and all the beings of light in the cosmos. We ask you to come down to planet Earth and call forth the energies of the crystalline energy of the planet Earth to assist all the humans to wake up and experience the blessings and the awe of God. We bless all of you that your minds will be quickened, that your bodies will be healed, that your souls will be enveloped into the soul of God, and that you will enhance and grow and receive the blessings of God and the universe, that we will all be delivered from sin, from all of the chaos, and that all the humans will have faith, hope, and compassion and charity for one another, that we will lift each other and help each other and assist each other to become what we are to become, which is divine beings of light and love. We bless all of you with these blessings and do it in the name of the Almighty, I am that I am. So be it, so it is.
Wow. Thank you, Scott.
You see the color change?
Yeah, I saw that. I was wondering if I was the only one that saw that.
Scott had his eyes closed. He didn't see
Yeah,
it, but
it's on the recording.
There was a huge golden light that surrounded as you
my
did
God.
that.
It was huge, Scott. No one missed it. Trust me.
That wasn't me. The golden came from the divine director.
Exactly. Yeah. And as you were saying those things, as you were giving that blessing, I felt it all through my body.
Yeah.
Oh, I felt it too. I don't even know what I'm going to say. That was one of the most divine blessings I've given so far. So,
well, apparently wonderful. You paid attention to what I said, which was shut up and listen.
Get that military gear on. He's got those combat boots on. Okay, so.
Oh, just joking with you.
It's all right. I need to shut up and listen too.
All right, Private. Let's get going. Semper Fi. Okay, no, that was wonderful. It really was. I felt tingling too in my body. It was very spiritual. I felt it. And I hope our viewers feel it too. And even though it's not live at the same time he's doing it, you're still going to get this same effect when you listen to it. So once we have this posted. Folks, I just wanted to screen share real quick for our viewers where we are located. Just so you know, this is our new video home on BitChute. And here we are, the GoldFish Report. And here's our GoldFish Report since our channel was deleted. So we start at 199 here, and then we keep going up. Now, just so you know, folks, it's BitChute, and you can just type in the GoldFish Report. We're also on Patreon, and I'll have those links in the description section as well. But we did have a backup, the GoldFish Report YouTube channel, and it's also starting to be banned as well. So for all those people who have subscribed, oh, I am sorry, you're going to have to subscribe to the BitChute channel now because, I'm not quite sure we're going to be hanging on to YouTube very long. So anyway, it was easy and convenient. Many people were used to it, but we are going to, have to learn to adapt to this new age of fascist censorship. Hopefully not for long. Right, Winston?
Well, let me just say that there's aside from all the good things, that were on YouTube, there's so much trash and garbage on there.
Yeah.
I mean, when you tune into some of the stuff that's going on, it will absolutely depress the heck out of you. So this may be, in fact, the end of YouTube because we have to get rid of that garbage.
True.
So again, had they not attacked you we could not have taken the actions that we took, which caused an effect, that I did not anticipate to the full extent. But because of that, your sacrifice, your time, you did not lose anything. You did not lose one single subscriber. You lost nothing. You gained everything. Let me emphasize that.
I agree.
Thanks, Winston. Thanks for saying that. It's good to have that encouragement. And we will keep pressing on, and we're not going to let that stop us. We haven't let it stop us, and we just keep moving. So, Scott, it was wonderful to see you. Did you have any closing comments you wanted to leave our viewers with, other than that lovely blessing? I don't think we can really top that today, but did you have any final comments? And just that the information will be in the description section, but anything in addition to that?
One thing I've noticed about these blessings is people like to record them and go back to them because that same energy will enter in again. So listen to this as many times as you need, and it will change your life for the better.
Thank you. Thank you. And Winston, did you have any other comments?
No, but like I say, people want to have that experience, Scott had his eyes closed, but you and I were watching.
Yeah.
And that whole room lit up with a golden light.
Yes, it did.
Now, if that's not a indication of the power of what was done just at that point, right. I mean, if people are not convinced by that, then if Jesus Christ himself came,
yeah, exactly right.
People will not believe him if they didn't believe what they just witnessed with that prayer and that blessing.
Exactly.
So if you find fault with that, you better take a real close look inside. You have missed the boat.
Exactly.
But we bless you anyway.
Exactly.
That's what Saint Germaine's saying. He's saying we're blessing everybody. So
that's right. Exactly. That's the good thing, is that you don't. You still benefit from the blessing because everybody still gets a chance to redeem themselves. So hopefully, we've all been there. I mean, we're not sitting in judgment of anybody. We've all been there. We've all needed to redeem ourselves and repent and deal with our own shadows and our own issues. We've all been there. But, hopefully we get ourselves straight and get ourselves right and do the right thing. So, okay. Well, gentlemen, it was wonderful seeing you again. Thank you so much for bringing this wonderful message to our viewers. And, just tell our viewers, hang on there. Thanks for subscribing and watching us on BitChute. We need you there. And you'll also find a link to our Patreon page. And please become a patron of the GoldFish Report. We need you more now than ever. And to keep this going, it's going to take a long time to get our archive back up. We're going to have to re-upload 200 videos. So, folks, it's going to take time. But we will do this. And we're going to do it as quick as we can. And we will also direct our viewers where to go for the archive, because I think we want to keep it on a separate site just because it may be easier to do it that way, just to keep it separate, the archive itself. So we will see you guys next time. Thank you, Scott. It was wonderful to see you again. Thank you for such a lovely message and blessing. And Winston, it's always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you, Winston, for your comments and your input, and of course, everything that you do with GoldFish Report as well. And what we did a week ago, 10 days tomorrow to be exact, we will, the fruits of those labors are also coming to fruition too, apparently. So,
oh, yeah.
Good work, my friend. Good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you both. Okay, so folks, we're going to include all the links for Scott's seminars and things that Winston has going on as well in the description section. And we'll see you next time. We have a new interview coming up with Rob Potter and some of his guests that he's going to have at the Mount Shasta conference this summer. So look out for that. We're going to have an interview with Sasha Stone coming up soon, in addition to, of course, Our Country Roads on Fridays. So you can't miss that. So stay tuned for that. Follow us, like us on Facebook. We still have our 24/7 news page. So keep liking us and following us there. And of course on Twitter and our blog. So we really haven't gone anywhere. We will just use a different source to post our videos, but we're still everywhere you are used to seeing us. So we will see you all next time. Have a great week. And this concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report. Thanks for viewing.